Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. What would you say to people? Because there was this narrative when you accept the job, oh, you know, Vince Marrow lost power in the facility. Now, listen, I don't know all the answers. I just know you got a contract extension from Kentucky a few months ago. So feels weird to me to give a contract extension and a raise to a guy that's losing power. Just my personal opinion, but I'm going to give you the floor because that has been a narrative since you left of, well, you know, the sport is changing and Vince Marrow lost power along the way.
How long the portal been out, Aaron?
About 4 years, 3 years?
Yeah. So I had 2 contract extensions, I think. I was the second highest paid on our staff. So I'm not going to even comment on that. A dog can read between the lines.
Let me say this. You ever heard the phrase, they don't boo nobodies? They don't give contract extensions to nobodies either. So yeah. I'll say that for you. I mean, it just, you know, and listen, I understand fans, you know, you leaving, you know, people are hurt. You know, you've been a part of their lives for 12, 13 years. Mm-hmm. But from my perspective, it does feel like a little bit of a quote unquote smear campaign to kind of, you know, devalue everything that you did on the way out the door. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
But isn't that, I mean, I think you cover Kentucky football here and there.
Sure.
Where before you knew that I was leaving or I was gone, did you hear a campaign like that about me?
Zero. It's 10 days ago. I didn't know that you had lost all this power.
Yeah. And so I can, and that's when people think me and Mark Stoops fell out. No. What it was when you recruiting and you bring in guys and you bring guys to the table, it used to be, hey, and this is the point I made. You know, I was talking, the guy, you know, Matt House used to be our D coordinator. He had ties to Midwest. So he loved the Midwest. Neil Brown grew up in Kentucky. He loved the Midwest because I recruited against all these guys. Shannon Dawson, who was our coordinator, grew up in the Midwest. Liam Cohen, when he got it, he's like a Jersey guy, East Coast guy, but he immediately learned, like, okay, this guy can't recruit. Like, I see why, what it is. But when you get guys and you got position coaches who are from, just say, Mississippi. You got another position coaches from Texas. You got another position coaches from Albuquerque, Mexico. Go and recruit the way they recruited there, but you may have been, and this is what I try to tell people, you may have been at traditional schools. You may have been at a Georgia. You may have been at an Alabama. You can go get them guys. Hey, the logo recruits for itself.
Sure.
You and I both know. It's just like in Kentucky basketball.
No doubt.
No, I never, even when Cal was here, I never even tried to, like, it did. Kentucky basketball is the Mecca. I can go put on a shirt and go recruit for Kentucky basketball. But I'm just saying the tradition is there. And then when you get a guy like Mark Pope who works it and grinds and his staff, they gonna get good players. Sure. So that's how this whole thing went where, okay, so y'all don't want to take, all of a sudden, y'all don't want to take my guys. Has football got worse in Ohio? Last time I checked, Ohio State just won the national championship. Mm-hmm. Last time I checked, you look at all different levels of Ohio football at D1, D3, D1 AA. All them college, all them teams are good.
Sure.
Ohio's the 4th or 5th producing state for D1 high school prospects.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I can tell you this, the coaches in Ohio are damn good football coaches. Football ain't go the other way.
Sure.
So how is it that we did not have a lot of guys from a state that's an hour away from us, 2.5 hours away, Columbus, 5 hours away, Cleveland, 6 hours away, Youngstown, Ohio, 6 hours away, Michigan, where we've been doing that for a while. If you go back I'm always in numbers. Go back and look at our players and guys who were players. Even a lot of them guys came from Kentucky, but Ohio, Michigan. Now, am I saying we got some good players out of Georgia? We got some good players out of Florida, but I'm saying the bulk of your players have come from them 3 states.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I know this. You got in between Michigan won this national championship, I think, and Ohio won it, and we were right in between. Them was 2 of our major states that we recruited in.
Sure.
So it wasn't like I got no power taken from me. It was just, hey, if you say power, I'll say, put like this. I've dealt with this more than once at Kentucky, meaning where we get in debates and we say, hey, and you end up, sometimes in the past, because a lot of the coordinators were areas where they recruited in the Midwest, and they value Ohio football.
Sure.
And I will tell you this, Aaron. This is what I'm telling you. SEC schools wasn't up in Ohio.
Nope.
8, 9 years ago. Guess why they started going up there? How the hell did Kentucky get real good and start beating us? So you know what they started doing? Sending their coaches to Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I can promise you that because I see them every day I'm on the road.
Yes. Let me ask you this. So you mentioned, and I want to get to the new gig. You said there's a new way of doing it. Coach Brom appears to be doing it. Would you say Kentucky you feel is falling behind, or is it just that Louisville is looking that far ahead?
I think people are going to do the way they're going to do it. I'm not going to, Mark Stoops is a smart man.
Sure.
And I think, let me just say this about Louisville. I think Louisville, they are. I think when you play pro ball and you've been around pro ball,
True.
as me and Jeff have, and you start seeing the turn of what is happening and how this thing is going, you better get ahead of it or you're going to be way behind.
Sure.
And so what Jeff said, hey, I ain't listening to. First of all, that's brand news to them too, though. I can't recruit or I can't do this. And
Yeah, I mean, you get a pretty high profile job for a guy that can't recruit and lost all your power. I'm just going to say.
And so he was like, I feel this guy is a top 3 recruiter in the country. And I do be ranked in the top 10 a lot. But he's saying he was doing this at Kentucky. Even when I was at Purdue, we go to the Big Ten meetings, the coaches, they never talked about Kentucky before.
Sure.
Kentucky wasn't even a threat to none of them guys in the Big Ten. Guess what? From 2014 to 2021, we were a pain in the they what, and a lot of them guys will say it.
Sure.
Because we had a lot of Big Ten so-called players on our team, and that's nothing against. Because look, bro, I recruit the South, but I always say this: Georgia, a lot of their players are gonna come from 60% gonna come from the state of Georgia.
Sure.
I guarantee you that. Alabama is gonna be in that range from Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be in that range. We the furthest north team, the furthest north. I know this. If I take a job at Texas, I'm not going to Ohio and Kentucky to recruit a kid unless this guy's a national guy. He's a #1 player in the world, and I'm going to get him because majority of our players going to come from them regions.
Sure.
So I just think Jeff looked at it and said, hey, and we talked. First of all, I think Jeff is I think he's one of the most underrated coaches in college football. Now, people starting to really see that because I looked at what he did at Purdue. When you had that roster and you playing in a Big Ten championship and you beat Ohio State, who has damn near NFL team every year, that tells me you can coach. So you know what he just it don't take a rocket science. Like he looked and said, "Hey, can recruit." I know this dude had Kentucky, the state of Kentucky, on lockdown, and they probably was the second dangerous school for a long time, for 6 years in Ohio, next to Ohio State.
Sure.
We were beating Michigan. We were beating Penn State. We were beating Michigan State. That's why Mel Tucker offered me all that money to come and run his department. So I don't know. If I lost this power and I can't recruit, that's some news to me.